So
Yep. And then, like, and again, it's the same thing with like we were
dude,
doing like carry keys in a siege, spotters. How useful spotters are.
man, you take those things through like half a dungeon, dude. Like, man, dude, like, so I did a series that I'm gonna start updating it in like +10 runs that I can just kind of like cheese through and talk through. But I was one of the first people to ever do. I did it on beta, so like I didn't quite like know everything, but I generally know it. And I went through like they're like 30-minute vids, but I talk about trash, like everything.
I think
every time people make guides, they only talk about bosses, and I'm like, well, what about the trash, dude? Like,
yeah, and that's the most important thing now.
Yeah.
Like something you could do that would be really helpful is if you could have like a healer walk with you or something like that. There used to be a guy, and I can't remember his name now, and it bums me out. But in Legion, he did one. I think it was called like the Elegant Tank or something like that. I would have to try and find him. He did really amazing tank guides, and that's what's needed now. Is the level to entry as a tank is so absurdly high because you're the everything in the key. You're the engine. Like you're pushing everything of the momentum of the run. You have to know when to pull, what to pull, how much damage it does, what targets the group.
Most keys that get killed because of the tanks just don't know.
Oh, yeah. And even how much to pull. Like I've had my tanks do it where, like, good example, we were in, it was like a Waycrest 17 or something, and he ran into that room with all the ticks and the witch. He ran in there and pulled all of it. I'm like, no, dude, don't. He's like, it's fine, we can do this. And like all the ticks started spitting. The witch was like etching people, and I'm like, do you know how much damage is going out right now? Like I popped off, and I
have like 6 bits. I need just melting it.
Yeah, I think I hit like 48k HPS on that. I'm like, it's 9 ticks and a witch. I'm like, dude, do you know how much damage goes out? Like, you like, so many people don't respect it because like
the more
see it from like one player perspective. Like, well, how much damage does this do to me? How much is it hard for the healer? How, you know? And it's like, you have those things, and it's frustrating because there's no guide out there to tell people. It would be really useful to have this to be like, here's your entry level program to like go through and just look at certain mobs, and then just guide to the tools and be like, yo, shout outs to Naga for Method for doing this. Get his guide, look at this thing, study the routes, study the mobs, learn what you do. Like, this mob does this ability, it's dangerous to these people.
Also, I have a run today that I'm gonna throw up tomorrow. I need to start doing a series about how to deal with the affixes this week, like how to like efficiently deal with these, how it's gonna change your pulls, how it's gonna affect your healer or you or whatever. Like,
like I mean, there's a lot of there's things that people don't understand too, like from a tank perspective, where you're gonna keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and they're not gonna realize, like, say bursting week. You do like a really big pull and the healer heals everyone up. Bursting's ticking. They're on to the next pool already. The healer can't drink while bursting's going. So like, I start starving out on mana. Like, I don't like on push weeks, like the 2 push weeks combined between fish feasts and consumables. I probably spent 500,000 gold without even trying, because like as a healer, I'm having to drop a fish feast and use mage water to full heal my mana to immediately start the next pull.
Dude, I did an underroute with Mischief the last bursting week we had. It was only like a 14, but I don't know if she really she's a really good healer as is, obviously, but I don't know if she completely understood the fact that like there was like 1 or 2 pulls that I did that were like a little larger, and she was like, and I was like, don't worry, I'm gonna wild growth and throw hot style after any large pull, like I'm gonna help you. And I don't know if she just like passively adjusted to it like really quickly, or if she just didn't notice it, but I was like, wild growth is a 1.3 second cast for me right now. Like, it's super quick, so it's like,
it's a huge amount of healing too.
Like
it scales really well, because like, I mean, I can't see your numbers, but like if you hover over your numbers on wild growth, like read your numbers to me, like what it says on the tooltip.
Base 12.7k over 7 seconds.
Yeah, 12.7k you said, right?
Yeah.
On yours?
Yeah.
Mine is 8.2k as a resto.
Dude, my Swiftmans can crit up to like the
90k, 100k, something like that.
Easy, dude, easy.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Mine probably highest is probably around 70, 80. Your scaling as a tank is higher than a scaling with intellect. They don't realize that, And so like that's why like I played with boomkins that were running Guardian Affinity, and I'm like, why are you running Guardian, dude? And they're like, oh, because it's easier for my healer to heal me. I'm like, wrong. It's easier for you to heal yourself. Like, there's no reason you shouldn't not, like, you know, Jagged Nettles comes out, I immediately can Swiftman. Like, even as a tank, like, I see Jagged Nettles start casting, I walk backwards to get out of range.
Yeah.
And then I Swiftman the target, and then immediately go back bear in that, like, 2 GCD span.
Or like hierarchy is just like use a bull rush and then just smash and then. I've been trying to get people on. Because there's a lot of people that are like afraid to shift out, and I've showed a lot of people where I'm like, this is how fast it is to hop back in bear when you cast that. Like, you just have to have it on keybind. Like,
yeah, and I can understand from people who have a less, like a lower skill curve, you know, like have a less aptitude for the game, where they've got to understand it, because the biggest thing that I see a lot of players do that aren't comfortable with the game and get scared about certain things is they go through, and as they play the game, they overthink a lot of things. They're like, oh, I need to be healing more, or I need to be using wild growth, it's on cooldown all the time. Like, no, that's not. Like, good example, like if you had to burn the tree boss, like the first thing I tell the healer is like, I'm going to drop the tree boss, and as soon as I do that as tank, I go through and then I wild growth
hots on everybody,
right,
dude. Hell yeah.
And then go back to bear before the tree gets to you. Easy game. And you've healed, you know, a pretty good chunk of healing for that. And, you know, people don't recognize that, but like a lot of lower level players and a lot of people in like lower capacities don't get that, like, you don't have to be doing everything. And like I see rogues do that, where like I've played with rogues and they're kidney shotting like every mob, and I'm like, why are you stunning everything? And they're like, well, I don't want it to cast anything. And I'm like, I don't care. You're wasting combo points, dude. Like, what do you do? Damage. Like, that's your role. Like, I can tell you when I need a stun. I can tell you when, like, a bad move is coming out and we don't have an interrupt. Like, just to do it because you think you're helping me? Like, I'm in cat form, dude. My tank's good. Like, if he's going to die, I'm going to know. Like, like, my tanks get to, like, 10, 20%. Like, I've played with tanks before, and they're like, I'm at 5 stacks with Revis. I'm like, that's cool. I don't care. He's like, well, you're going to heal me to full? I'm like, no, you're at cultivation land, dude. Like,
my druid's been doing that now, too, dude. Like, he says cat and on certain fights, and, like, we're at a point now where, like, he'll chill, and then he knows that on some fights where, like, I know that the boss has a window, like, I'm going to Swiftman myself because I'm not going to let myself die. Like, and I would rather him be there doing more damage when I, like, handle what I know I can handle, and then I'll ask for it if I know I'm gonna need it, or like, hey, I don't have instincts here,
like between these two and running traits and abilities, like I've finished a run where my overall damage is like, if you look at it like Waycrest 10, my overall damage is like 9k in some dungeons. Like, I'm pushing as much as tanks.
That's so good.
And it's just because it's constant throughput that's going out.
How do you like meticulous scheming? I never see that shit proc. Like, I even have like the weak aura for like,
it's very,
I don't play balance
so, like,
that much, but
yeah, the time is good because like if I look at mine, my meticulous scheming uptime for Seize the Moment was up for let's look at it, roughly.
Did you have it on in that run?
Dungeon. Yeah, I had it on my druid. So like if you look at the overall of it, you can track.
Wow, how the
15% uptime. It's not great, but if you
look, it's a lot of haste when it procs though.
If you look at what it is, it's about the exact same as your quick navigation. So my quick navigation had almost the exact same uptime. So if I get really lucky and I get 2 procs of that, that's a gigantic amount of haste.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of like preference.
That's like you're only casting Lunar Strikes. Like, you can't even cast Wrath with that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's play preference and liking ability. It's also, you have to run, like, I run 2 different weak auras for Meticulous because one tracks the prompt of it and one tracks the buff of it, and so that I know how long I have on the Meticulous, how long it's going to be going. You know?
Yeah.
And it's another one of those things where it's like, if they had made more abilities like this, like, all they had to do was just rename it or reclassify it or whatever. Like, when you cast 3 of the same ability in a row, some classes would be like, oh, that's absolutely terrible. But like, say a Frost Mage trying to get a bigger proc or something, they're Frost Bolting 5 times in a row, and it would just generate more and more crit or something. And it'd be something really simple. where, you know, things like that. But they don't do that anymore, and it's really frustrating. Like, it's dumb. I think there's a lot that's super frustrating on some ends of it. But yeah, I'll probably hop out. It's like super late, and I'm chewing your ear off
6:30 in the morning.
Dude.
No, dude, I don't really have that. Like, I'm sitting here trying to help people to the best of my ability, and like, I don't really have anybody to just like straight theory craft with about shit.
Yeah.
So, I paid 20K to take Ablative shit. No, I paid 40K to take that back. So
I think,
I'm
like,
done.
again, for me, and this is kind of just saying it because I tend to lean very heavily on agreement that I think ablative like, here's the really sad thing, right? Like, I want to show you something just so you can see what I'm talking about. Like,
well, and I already have like Gem Hide. I'm not a big fan of Carapace. It pairs well with Gem, but
it's just good armor. That's the thing. Like, I think having one of each is very good. That helm is one of my best healer helms that I run specifically. But like, if you look at the traits of it, Twisted Claw, Ablative Armor, and Gem Hide, the best Guardian traits.
I never get
that.
I still haven't even gotten a heroic version of that helm, dude. I'm so unlucky.
Yeah, and that one is just like, I've had people ask me questions like, why are you running Laser Matrix? It's terrible. And I'm like, do you know how much Laser Matrix does? And they're like, no. And I'm like, at the end of a run, my Laser Matrix can be doing anywhere from around 800k. Like, it's a gigantic amount of damage. And again, it's just preference. All preference. And it's just, you know, it is what it is. But even then, like, I think really what a lot of the community needs is, and this is from all levels, it's like everyone needs more information.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough. Like,
yeah.
And what's really bad is that we're so fresh in we're so fresh in the expansion. But like, you know, like for me specifically, I've already done 20. I already know people who have done 20s on Altaldazar. And that's because Altaldazar is a balanced dungeon.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but it's doable. But then you look at some
it's
of them,
manageable.
Shrine,
I think is a good word for it.
Yeah, totally agree. That's a good word for it. But Shrine, holy
oh my god!
What do you do with Shrine? Like, what? Like, they buffed Underrot Timer. I'm like, okay, I can get that because if you don't have a rogue, it's a lot of extra trash you got to kill. I can understand that for Toldagor because, again, if you don't have a rogue, it's a lot of stuff you've got to do.
Or if you don't know that, like, doing a death skip and, like, how much time the cannons actually waste, that, like, it's, like, yikes.
And here's the thing now, and this is, like, actually legitimate. Like, in the higher level keys, the cannons are actually used. Like, not kidding.
Yeah?
Like, 18s in time, 19s in time were used with cannons.
Yeah?
Because you skip a lot of the outside trash, and the cannon scales with damage. So it's just using it well. The problem I don't like with the cannons is that you can pull mobs through the wall or the floor. It's so frustrating because all of a sudden we have like 10 mobs hitting us, and there's the whole key done. But no,
you just have to like use your utility like slows, knockbacks, stuns, things like that.
Well, here's the super easy way to the rogue trickses the tank, hops in the cannon, and wow, the tank has now done like 800,000 damage technically on the threat meter. And it's like, that's crazy. Like, and that's, I think that's where the big crutch of the expansion is at the current moment, is that rogues are so valuable.
Yeah.
They're more needed than what Blood Death Knights are needed in. I can't think of a single dungeon that I would not want a rogue in because of Shroud, Sap, Blind, Gouge,
non-combat pre-pull CCs.
Evasion. Yep. Yeah. And Misdirect. There's not a week goes by that's not good for a rogue. Like, I've said it before, and I think it should be held true. I don't like the fact that Demon Hunters and Monks have a specific on-hit ability. I think that's dumb. I think that all this weird class dynamic / class specific buffs that they've been doing are horrible.
Uniqueness.
All you've done is bring the class, not the player now, which is terrible.
Well, and the fact that they took away Mark of the Wild, like they're getting, like, they almost got there. If they had left Mark of the Wild in, it's that feeling of like, it's a phrase from like last year, but they're like, you should feel stronger playing together, where you should feel like oh, like, even like we have a Pharaoh, but we're still getting a leader of the pack, which is 5% more crit to everybody, and Mark of the Wild, like.
Right. I think there should have been auras applied to druids. It sounds dumb, but I agree with it. Where you get leader of the pack.
Leader of the pack was so good, dude. It was so good for everybody.
I think leader of the pack should have been applied. Where it could have been, you could have renamed it anything. You could have literally taken the names from the Legion.
Or
stuff,
like 5% verse, 5% verse, or crit, or.
I mean, even scale it down where it's like, you know, while in like if you are a feral spect druid, you give 3% crit to the whole party, flat crit.
Yeah.
If you're a guardian, you give 3% burst to the whole group, flat. If you're a resto druid, you give 3% mastery, flat. If you're balanced, you give 3% haste, flat.
And it also fixes, like, it fits well with like each of the specs too, where it's like, oh, I have a cat, so like we should be chunking shit. Oh, I have a bear, so I'm gonna like take a little less, I'm gonna do a little more, like,
But, and that's like, even for like class buffing, but it's even smaller things too. Like I said, why did they not just give mass invisibility to mages? Why did they not just give like mass camouflage to hunters? And then they're like, oh, but that's too much utility and it's class, you know, class fantasy. And I'm like, there's no class fantasy anymore though. There's just what's good and what's bad. And the problem is I've had demon hunters tell me this, where like they're like, how come you don't bring me the keys? And I'm like, because I know demon hunters who are better than you, and that's the problem. And it's like, I'm not trying to be mean. It's just that's the best class in the game is a demon hunter. And if this guy's playing at like a 2200 rated level and you're, you know, 1400, you just can't win then at that point. But
if he knows the mechanics and knows how to play and use like his stuns and his darkness and his purges and all of this, like if he like just knows
the utility,
if he knows the run better than you, like it'll show.
Yeah,
like it's quick. Like you see it very early on in keys. Like
you can even see it with like I said, like you said with darkness. There's a lot of little things in there that darkness isn't used well with. You know,
like Trothak, where I'm like, yo, while we have Lust up, drop Darkness for the first tornado. I might use a Bark Skin and like a regen. He'll use a Darkness and a Blur, and we just sit there and we get our full Lust amount of damage. The boss dies a little faster.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference. But it's also like some of the smaller effects too, where you have what was it? I'm trying to think of it. Like you have. What was I gonna say? Oh, just like class utility. Like I said, I think it should be homogenous. I think it's really insidious. Like it's very dastardly how they've set up certain classes now to fail because they don't have the utility that other like survival hunters are a good example. Survival hunters are amazing. They're one of the best damage in the game. But the problem is that they're competing at a premium spot, which is
between rogues and demon hunters, dude. Yeah,
well, you can't not bring a rogue. Like I don't even know how to do dungeons without a rogue anymore, pretty much. Like you could if you wanted to, but like everything then involves death skipping, like you said. So it's like you death skip almost everything. So it's like, okay.
Even during like 10s on like my shaman as Ellie, I'm like, I don't really include like Earth Ellie in the argument, but when I'm like solid Ellie, like lots of utility, and they're like how low, and I'm like, what? I have slows, I have stuns, I have a 12-second kick, I've got hex, like yeah.
I ran my 20 Ataldazar with Baraka Shaman.
Oh, dude, how is he? I've been looking at him, dude. He's a beast, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, he was running with JB and Shakib and them earlier today. Like he's a chill dude. I love him. He's super awesome, you know, friendly streamer, and I run keys with him. Like, he
streams, dude. I gotta watch this shit sometime.
Yeah, he's in this community that I gave you is just something that I made to start. Like, all I care about for people to pull in is I want people to be at least like 1475 kind of thing, and I'll round it up. But like, I feel bad for players because I feel like you can pug, and this may be a bit of an overestimation. I feel like you can pug to around 1400.
Yeah.
But going beyond that is almost impossible now.
Well, once you get into like 15s and 16s, things really start to become like ride or die. It's like
yeah. And then that's where you can find people in here. Like there's tons of players that don't have set teams, but they're good 1900, 2K, 18, 17K players. Like I know, you know, really good Mistweavers or really good whatever that are like 15K.
I'm the lowest score of the song right now. Yikes.
Oh no, it's not even no. I don't even care about like I think
Yeah.
attributing a player's skill to score is deadly.
It's
I think that's a
weird. Yeah.
deadly thing to do because then you start looking at the player and saying like, oh, your score is only 800. You clearly don't know anything. But that's not always true. It's just sometimes the player is either coming back or new or starter or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there is truth to the numbers though, but it's mainly the truth to the numbers is your experience with the dungeon.
That mage that was with us, Ice, he just started playing, he said, in what, like, May? And I did a freehold with him, and not only was he crushing the meters, he was, like, rooting the spawns, like, and was paying attention to, like, some of the kicks and shit. Like, look at his kicks there. He only had 12, but
no, I mean,
still,
but that's a
like,
race kind of thing. I tend to look at it just because of how people prioritize, like what they prioritize damage to, how they prioritize damage on certain things. Like that's a huge thing to me. Where like you're looking at it in like I track because on mine I have 3 separate windows, and so like I rotate one of my windows constantly to see what is going on for like orb damage, CC breaks, CCs being used. Like I've
always got an orb damage thing up, dude. Always, yeah.
And so like yeah, and I played with one of these rogues. He's on my friends list and he's in the channel. His name's we started playing with him and he was like 1300s and he was just really chill, fun dude. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna put you on my team. We're gonna push you. We'll do well. I introduced him to a couple of guys that I know. He's now in one of their guilds. He's like 20. I think he beat me in score now because he started playing with a lot better people. Yeah, because I quit because my tank burnt out on me and I kind of had a falling out with him. But I'm hard on people because I'm very critical because I see a lot of what goes on and I play all roles. So like I know tank, I know healer, and I know DPS. And so, but like he now is like 21 whatever. And if you looked at him, you were like, oh, you're only like a 1300, 1400 rogue or whatever. And then now you look at the player and he's like 2100 and you're like, that's what can happen when you take a good player and give them opportunity in a good group. But the problem is the community doesn't allow that anymore. Like, you know, it's so out of the norm. Like Barako Shaman, like people even were asking JB, like, oh, is Shaman broken now? Is that why you're playing with him? He's like, no, he's a good Shaman and we just want to play with him. And it's just because like the community has killed the class before it has even left the dungeon. Like before you're even invited, they just look at you and you're like, oh, you're not a rogue or a demon hunter, so you're clearly horrible. Like, you clearly are a terrible person for wanting to play what you enjoy playing.
Yeah.
Like, I think there are a lot of really bad tanks out there, or really bad healers, where, like, even Disc Priests. I have so many people telling me, like, oh, Disc Priests are terrible. And I'm like, they're, like, the best healers in the game. Are you kidding? They're like, no, they're awful. I'm like, I know multiple 2200 Disc Priests.
Frugal, dude. He's on my battle tag. I ran with him. I think I did one of his first 15 keys with him, and now he's like fucking off the charts, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many players that, you know, just given the opportunity can do well. Like, I don't ever discredit a player until I've played with you, and then I can see it. Like in Legion, my hunter that I play with now, who's like 2100, I played in. He was like nothing. He had no score, and we played in
I was already thinking about it, Simon.
Mythic plus, like Arcway, rather. And I saw him, like, you know, he was dodging the tethers from the spider boss. As soon as he got it, he would disengage, break the tether, trapping stuff, interrupting, turtling certain abilities. And I was like, dude, you're a really amazing player.
Decent, yeah.
And well,
and thanks, like, man. Yeah, and like he knew the content too. Fucking.
Yep.
I've got in chat. Alf, well, everything you learn is for the game itself. It costs you, since, as he says, there's no info about things. The Gahoon Puff I deducted since mobs didn't die with it. It took you like 4 tries to know about it, and now I don't interrupt it, but dispel it if it passes and saves the interrupt to the heal. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude.
Like, and the community is in jeopardy because you're hurting the players who want to play the game but can't enjoy it, and you're hurting the players who are currently pushing at the highest end content but can't enjoy it. So it's collapsing on both ends. Like, the community is already down a humongous number of numbers because the entry level is too high and the enjoyment level is too low. And there's no way to really fix that other than them reinstalling something that will give us fresh agenda to play. Hopefully 8.1 fixes a lot of that. But like, what we're doing right now for keys and what the community can't do in keys is huge. Absolutely huge. And it's so painful because I feel bad because you can't tell someone how to play the game better and there's no resources out there to teach them how to learn. So they're just at a loss. They have to go into a toxic environment with a community of people who they're in it for themselves. They're in the key because it's a group of opportunity. They're like, all right, I'm in this to finish my 10 for the week. I don't give a F about anybody else or what year they get.
Or
I just want to get mine done.
Or I only need it for this IO, or I'm
Right.
only here to grind for this one piece of gear.
Yep.
I've been doing this all fucking night, dude. I don't give a shit. Just get the key done. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
And then you have these people who are like, a kick is missed or an interrupt, and because somebody doesn't know, like, oh man,
Which is why Discord is
didn't
so
know to do
helpful,
this.
dude. And nobody wants to get
Right.
into Discord. They're like, nah, I'm not doing this. It's only a 10. And I'm like, well, dude, I'm asking you to get in Disc. Not necessarily because you have a lack of XP, but just to, you know, help this go smoothly. Like, so we can all just be on the same page and, like, have some fun, have some banter. If you don't want to talk, that's fine, but at least happen to listen, please. Like, and they're like, no. And I'm like, all right, you know, whatever.
Yeah, and that's also something where you can't. Like, you can't
I don't want to
help
force people to do things. Yeah,
Right,
but...
yeah. I was gonna say you can't help people that don't want to be helped, but it's hard. It's hard because of both ends of it, where you're like, oh man, it'd be really nice if I. It would be really nice if I had an opportunity to like learn from the game and do X, Y, Z or whatever, and it's not there. And Discord is strange because voice communication is difficult. Because like I've been in a run with a really good. He was a guildie of mine, and we were doing. I think it was a 17 siege at the time, and this would have been, or no, I'm sorry, Toldagor, 17 Toldagor, and it would have been stellar for us for score, and we were smoking the key, and we get to Jess Howler and Bobby Howler, and I was like, whatever you do, don't interrupt the boss.
Because the mage isn't supposed to.
Jess, you just belf it off. And he's like, okay, all right, all you have to do is you interrupt Bobby, because the brother doesn't have a shield, it's broken. You just interrupt Bobby, even though it looks like you have to DPS the shield, you don't. You just
I didn't know that was broken until like 2-3 weeks ago.
Right, no one does, and so they DPS it through. So like, I told him like, all you got to do is interrupt the brother. You know, we'll let you get it. You're a demon hunter, and so he fucked it up, and he interrupted the main boss, and all the ads are coming out, and they all got it bolstered, or they all got empowered from the motivation. So we belf it off, and then we're just like, the brother is also stunning me, and since the brother was stunning me, flashing daggers goes off, I instant die. Like, whole key's just done, and I'm just like, oh my god.
It's like that right now.
Lust. You know, there's no battle res. They're having to deal with the boss now and mechanics and mobs and all this other stuff going on. I'm like, you know, like, that's a mistake, and it's awkward at that point because when something's done that badly in a key and voice comms, it just got dead silent, and it was just like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, everyone's in a bad mood and all that kind of stuff. But again,
I had a guy. It was because we didn't have a rogue for Total Gore, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna drop my herbalism. I'm gonna take inscription because I have scrolls in the bank. And I'm sitting there unlocking the cells around Jess last week, and he was like, well, like, why, like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're wasting mad time. And I'm like, because ads are gonna spawn explosives during the boss. And he was like, no, they won't. And so I intentionally left 2 of the cells locked, just like, because I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but, you know, and I left 2 of the ads up, and sure as hell, we got explosives during the boss, like, extras. And I was like, I didn't say, like, I told you so, but I was like, I fucking knew it, dude. Like,
yeah. And there's things there that were, like, it causes frustration, and I don't think Discord's bad if handled well, but it's also hard because the community is at such a different level, and again, the knowledge isn't there. Like if I was to play with a player, And like,
there's still a bunch of shit that I don't fucking know that I'm learning every day. That's what I tell people like on stream all day when they're like, oh shit, like the amount of shit that I learn here, and I'm like, dude, there's more learning to do every day, dude. Like, don't ever stop. Like, shit.
Yeah. Like the whole thing with a lot of it is that the knowledge is out there, but it's also hard to find. Like, you know, just us talking about some of the polls or some of the things, or discussing some of the class dynamics. Like, there's such a mindset that's locked in, and then the populist community is like, oh man, I totally only think this way now, and that might not always be the best thing. Like, if you don't challenge some of the normalcies of it, like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be really cool to do this again, or wouldn't it be really good to do this pull? And so, like, there's times where I'll argue with tanks. I'm like, I don't like that pull at all. And they're like, no, it's a really good pull. It's a really good pull. I'm like, okay, if you say so, and we'll pull it. And I'm like, I was like, never again, by the way, never again, never do any of that. Like, you know, and then other times where I'm like, I'm 100% wrong. That was a really great pull. Good job. That was a ton of percent. It was way easier than I expected it to be. And it's just knowing how to do the pulls, what the pulls are available, all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult because the community is not there. The community is not there to really assist people with that kind of knowledge. And because it's not there, there's nothing really you can do. And it's, you know, I mean, it's hard to criticize players for having an ignorance. You know, like, oh man, I'm sorry you don't know how to play the game, because just, you know, you're casual at it. Like, I've run Waycrest like almost triple digit now, like 100 times, and I know that dungeon so fudging well. And then you look at it, and it's like, I also feel bad because then you know, if you're playing a character and you don't know those dungeons, like, oh damn, that really sucks. You know, that you know, your character or your class or your skill, that you don't understand that you're doing this or this, and there's nothing you can do. Like, there's no real like consequence to being someone who is casual and enjoying the game at a really base level, because that's how the game should be. It should be fun for all players. Yeah. You know, and I don't, like, that's, you know, what we were saying earlier. I don't totally agree with the idea that you need to remove the idea of having tyrannical or fortified. It just needs to have better knowledge, and they need to fix this trash. Like, this trash in this game is horrible.
Dude, the fact that you spend like the first, like, generally for like, let me look at Motherlode right now. So especially on a fortified week, you'll do a big pull at the beginning. Like, I may be doing this wrong, but as far as like how I've been doing it, I'll do a larger pull at the beginning with Lust, so we can get that on cooldown. Then we spend 10 minutes doing trash, and then we do first boss, and depending on where my damage is, and then I gotta go and back clear trash in the first area, and then we go do more trash, and then we get the Azarok, and then we death run the third, and then we death run the fourth, because all the, like, the trash.
Well, you can, depending on who you have as a healer. If you have a druid, you can still skip 3 and 4. But no, you're not wrong. I mean, that's. I'll tell you more about it in a second. Give me 1 minute. I gotta run to take care of something.
Yeah. Man, not like yesterday. I was making fun of this guy's name because we were just on IO on the bear shit, dude. He's a cool ass dude. I'm definitely gonna throw this up on YouTube, by the way, for sure, dude. That's why I changed the music over to non-copyrighted shit. Your group just bops it? Bop? Works. This is fine. But if you don't have a pally, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I didn't know that you could just like kick that shit right away. I even forgot that again today when I was doing that on my shaman.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're good.
Yeah, so like, if you look at the dungeon tools, there is on Motherlode, like we have different routes we end up doing, but on the third area, you can stealth skip around all the masterminds, and then right behind the little house, right in front of the 4 guys in front of Rixa, the third boss,
Yeah.
there's a little ledge you can get on that you can stealth to as a druid. Then the tank pulls it back to like the alchemist weapon tester right next to the research and development, right next to the D in the map.
Yeah.
You pull them back there, and then you can just literally stealth walk past, stand right inside of the boss area, and then can mass res everybody. You don't even have to death skip as the healer. You just have to be a druid again, because druids have stealth.
Yeah.
So you can maybe no, you probably can't even end it, but so like there's that, you know. And then it's the same for the final boss, when you can if you have a druid, they can hug. I personally like hugging the left wall, and you can get all the way to the very first pull, or the very last pull right before Mogul.
And then you have a rogue pull and vanish.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually what we do is I have everyone die in the little cubby. It's the kind of the dip in the wall right there. I don't know if you can kind of
on the other side of that last pack.
Yeah. Or... So like there's you pull it just directly to the left, and there's the little like kind of indentation on the wall there, right behind the War Machine number 5. So right behind War Machine number 5. In that little wall,
yeah.
you can there's no line of sight, so as long as you have a druid or a shaman,
the 100-yard range on that,
steps, right? Huh?
That's a 100-yard range on Master Res, right?
Yeah, and so even then, if you have a normal healer like a shaman or a druid, you can res through that wall.
There's no line of sight there?
Line of sight.
Oh wow.
No. So like what I usually have my tanks do is just pull it backwards and die in there, and I stealth around and I don't die. And then just walk in the room and master.
Oh.
And then that saves me time from having to that saves me time personally from having to attempt to do the death skip, which saves us a death, which saves us time, which saves us everything.
And the stress of possibly not getting the B-res off when you get up there in the first place. If it's like you get crit or something happens, or
the bombs or whatever, the bombs
when
that
those
don't
bombs
disappear.
bug, dude. Oh, dude, I almost cucked around the other night because we had like, I think I counted 16 bombs that were stuck in front of that last pack all the way up to the stairs, dude. And I was like, what the fuck? I had to wait until Instincts was up, run through the bombs, and then get the B-res off. And I was like, shit, dude.
They don't even despawn. They're just evading it permanently. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, even Mogul, like everybody has their own way to do bosses. Like for me,
I like that right there. I'm gonna do that.
I have at least from my strategy for Mogul, I set markers in the ground where you can pull him basically as long as you don't take the second mobs or Mogul down the stairs, he doesn't reset. So the tank puts him basically right at the edge of the wall, and then you have the range classes spread out away from the melee, because when the rocket shoots, so I set 3 markers around the ring, 1 for me and 1 for each of the melee, or I'm sorry, 1 for each of the range. If you have more melee, it doesn't matter, you don't need a marker for them. But you basically take like east, south, if we're looking at it on a compass, it would be east, west, and south, and you stand in those positions. Then the tank takes it right on the stairs. The stairs is like a safe spot. You can't get hit by the red swirls on stairs.
Really?
So all you have to do is just, when Gatling gun comes out, dodge Gatling gun. And that's it. The range stand out, they take a missile, they run into melee, and everybody runs around the boss in a circle. Range fan out, come back in, fan out, come back in. And as long as you don't take the small adds near the stairs, they don't leap out and reset. And the boss never leaps out and reset. And as long as you kill, like right before he dies, pull him away from the stairs, just in case little form runs down the stairs or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the only way he can reset. And so that stair area is actually a safety zone. So like if there's ever bombs or anything there, I get triggered, because like when we did it on I think we did it on a 19, we did it on time with. I think we have like one of the like world 10th or like world 8th, or like, I know it's like region 2. It might have changed. People might have done more. I don't know. But like when we did it, like I talked with my tank about it beforehand, because we did like an 18 and then we did the 19. I'm like, do it this way. And he didn't, and like everything was chaos. I died, the whole group died, we wiped it. And I was like, no, please just do it this way. We did it. We smoked the key. We had like, I'll look at my score. We had on our motherload is 2 in the region. We finished a 19 motherload on Tyrannical in 34 minutes.
Yeah.
We had 5 minutes on that key because just of how clean we pulled everything. Like, we finished all the trash in our route was so fast that we got to Azeroth and we still didn't have Lust. And we were like, we're at 90% and we don't need more trash. Do we just go back? Like, we were just like, okay. Like, we just had to figure out what to do.
Can you link me your motherload route?
Hmm?
I don't have you on B-Tag. Shit. I just want to...
Oh, I can reinvite you.
Yeah. I just want to get that route from you, if you don't mind. I want to have a look at it.
I have to copy from LVY. Give me a second. That works. Let me see the ones we did. I think it was week 11. Was it Tyrannical? No, it was Vulcan. Give me a minute, I have like 50 of these.
You're good.
Earthquake, week 11?
That's one thing I'm learning more now is like how to adjust routes for each week.
Yeah, that's why I have so many. I'm trying to see which one it was. Is it this one? Was it this one? I don't think it was. It might have been this one. Yeah. I think this was our route we used. Check that one. I think that's what we used. I'm not 100% on it. I have a lot of routes. So let me look.
That's all good. I just wanted to have a look. Like the general idea. Yeah, non-tyrannical masterminds, yeah. Not like a big...
Well, it's mainly because if you pull those mobs, then the druid and the group can shroud through. So we basically 4-man shrouded up there. The tank pulled backwards. He was the only one who died. We walked into the boss room. But it's very tight. So it can be very dangerous.
Like the padding on that one mastermind, yeah.
Yeah. Here's another altered route of that one, and I think this is what we actually did, where we basically pulled all of this extra stuff and this one extractor group on this week, because when we did this, it was week did we do this? Oh, Raging Volcanic Tyrannical. This is the week we did it in. And so we CC'd the two mine rats and just killed everything else in that group super easy up by the hill for the extractor. And we shrouded up into Azeroth and basically did Azeroth. And I think we were around the percent we needed because I unselected the one Taskmaster group. But other than that, it was like super easy.
Okay, yeah.
And then we pulled that one mastermind solo, and then I think I just stealthed it up there. I think I just stealthed through the groups and then just did that reset one because it's like 101 right there.
Oh, ledge, yeah. Damn.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, everybody has their own route. Like, there's groups that, like, I've heard groups that only do, like, 3 or 4 mobs that they run with a marksman hunter, and it's just small, consistent, fast pulls. And it's like arms warrior, marksman hunter, monk, or something like that. And they're like,
just smash everything.
2K rating, yeah, because they pull clean, efficient pulls. Like, you don't need to do these Legion, like, let's pull the whole start of the dungeon. You don't need to do those pulls if it doesn't fit your style. Like, especially, like, what I call it is the poor man's mass grip. Line of sight everything. Like, you have to line of sight everything to come back to you, and then you can actually do the pull. And until that kind of happens, it gets really painful. So
I've had that argument laid on me a couple times, and they're like, but a DK has mass grip, and I'm like, dude, it's not that hard to like stack trash up. Like it's obviously helpful and a little faster for sure, but it's not like it's. I don't know. I'm a little biased, of course, but I'm like, it's not that hard to just like stack shit up. It's gonna take a few extra seconds at least, but it's doable.
It's the convenience of it, because
yeah.
What a Death Knight can do is basically like walk in a room, and all of it comes to one specific spot.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. So like the melee there's no awkward one that's outside of range or cleave or any of that. No, they're all literally right on top of each other. So yeah, the druid can solar beam and it hits everybody. You know, the hunters can beast cleave and it's not missing mobs. You know, the frost mage has got a perfect frozen orb that's not going to go wonky, like all that kind of stuff. Like there's all those tiny things that exist there that are really, really, really good. But again, I don't think you need mass grip. Like, I think Death Knights are very good because of their kit, which is why they're the best in the game. But it's not that you can't be good. Like, it's completely capable. It's building a route that fits your style and building a team that fits around your style.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I think you desperately need is a rogue. And then, you know, I mean, most optimal DPS would be like rogue, demon hunter, mage, pumpkin. And then like run a monk healer and then whatever tank you wanted. Obviously, it would probably be like a Death Knight or a monk or whatever. But I mean, if you're running your group, like rogue, boomkin, mistweaver, demon hunter, that's a phenomenal group. That literally everyone gets empowered. You've got trees, you've got AoE stun, you've got silence, you've got spell steal.
You have both of the debuffs on the targets.
Yep, you've got everything you need for it. Yeah, and it just, you know, and it's the same thing with like I said with Elemental Shaman. People are like, oh, it's a terrible class and it doesn't do anything. I'm like, no, dude, like I played with him. He's doing like on par damage with rogues and demon. Like his AoE damage is unmatched. You know, the only thing you just have to learn around to play with is Earth Elemental. It's a 5-minute cooldown instead of a 1-minute cooldown. But Earth Elemental can be healed. So in theory, that it's a 1-minute uptime on that thing if I just pump heals into it. You know, and so there's different things that go on, obviously, for each. You
just have to be aware of like how to use it.
Said, it's all in what fits your style, like, and what fits around you. Like I really wanted to try running, with like a Death Knight DPS. I think Death Knight DPS is extremely underrepresented because of how Death Knight tanks are. I feel like that class just gets shafted.
I have a DK friend that he doesn't play Blood, he only plays Frost and Unholy, and he smashes shit, dude. Like, he's a really good player. And like,
it's one of the best DPS specs in the game.
I'm getting used to like, we haven't played together like the past week or two as much, but we got to a point where like I would just expect the grip from him, like like where I used to like run forward and then he would grip back because they were all there, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta turn around. But then I was like expecting it, and it just like it started to mesh so well. Like, it's super cool dude too.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's with people that can compliment you, especially like that's at least for me why I stopped pushing. Like I stopped pushing after some of this stuff because it got to be this really weird space where people stopped playing the keys for challenge and fun and started playing for IO score and like viewer count. And at that point for me, like it kind of got weird because I was like, I'm not super on board with it because I want to have fun. I want to be able to talk and laugh and not be angry at each other. And if we scuff a key, like we just rolled the next key.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like you start building a really good synergy so that when you're playing on all these garbage weeks, when you get to the really good week, you guys just monster keys because everyone feels in sync with each other.
Yeah. And that's a habit that I make where like I have a buddy of mine, like he's a really, really good player, makes the occasional mistake, like in tempo first boss, and like the shield will change and he's just like going hard and he'll die to the shield in like 3 hits or something, and he got real quiet for like a few minutes, and I was like, dude, cheer the fuck up, dude, like it happens, like let it go, it's all good, dude, like we're moving on. We smashed the key in time. It was a 15 tyrannical temple, and like we smashed it, and like And then like after that he chilled out, but I'm like in a habit of now of like really trying to keep people not necessarily motivated, but at least not like unhappy. Like, man, I fucked up, dude. I might have fucked up the key, and I'm like, dude, who fucking cares? Like, we're doing it anyway, so like, it's not like I'm gonna stop the key right now because you died once. Like,
right, and that's the thing that's really frustrating is that
there's always more keys too. There's always more keys.
Mm-hmm. It can feel bad when it's like, you know, a key for score. Man, I really need. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But you know, if you don't learn from it, the thing that gets me is like repeated errors. Obviously, you know? If that's happening like every single key run, then that becomes a problem.
Yeah, no.
You know, and then it's other things like that where it's like, oh man, I just really wanted to do this, this, or this, and I thought I'd try these things, and like I said, I was having issues with people who were like, I'm pretty vocal for a lot of stuff, and so at times where I'm making a call, or if the tank is making a call, they try and do their own plan mid-pull, and it just always turns things on its head. I'm like, you're not helping, you're only hurting, because, you know, there's nothing else that can be done if you're just, you know, oh, I guess I'll just hop on and I'll mass entangle these things, or I'll you know, or I'll throw a trap onto them. Like, why, dude? We wanted to pull that.
Don't have a plan and then veer from it. Like, if you don't agree with it, you can say something, but don't establish a plan and then be like, ah, no, fuck that, dude. Like, mid pull. Like,
yeah, the tank needs to be controlling a lot of it in the momentum up, and so like that's why, like, you know, for like certain DPS need to be saying they have cooldowns. Like, you know, if you're in Discord, they'd be like, if you're playing with a boom camp, be like, yo, I've got incarnate trees up, let's go, let's pull big, clap clap. You know, it's the other sides of it where it's, you know, it's not always best to be like, yo, we don't have cooldowns, or yo, we're low on CDs, we should probably not pull super huge. We'll slow it down a little and pull clean. Like, obviously the pace is always important. It's Mythic Plus. Without like going through and doing something really, really good, you're gonna end up running into tons of problems that'll just, you know, cause a wipe anyway. You're like, oh, we're running so slow. Oh God, we're gonna pull 2 groups this time. And
without thinking what the mechanics are.
100% right. And then all of a sudden everyone's dead. And everyone's dying, and mobs are casting, and abilities are going off, and stuns, and you're just like, well, man, how'd this go so wrong? I'm like, well, you didn't think it through. You just pulled everything, and now we're all dead. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Vine Twister's strangling the healer because we missed a kick. Like,
oh, dude, that's freaking triggered as hell, dude. I literally start saying names in Discord. I'm like, you have a kick ready, you have a kick ready, and you have a kick ready. Why am I stunned for 5 seconds? Like, you know, like, dude, like that, those kind of things. Like, you'll start having me. Like, people have told me at times where they're like, dude, you don't make keys fun anymore because you're so hard on us sometimes. I'm like, hard on you because you fail at really easy mechanics. Like,
I like the planning aspect of keys personally. Like, not everybody likes that. I like the planning and then like rolling through there and then like maybe making adjustments here and there depending on like if we need to pick up the pace or like whatever. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. And that's again another side of it where tanking comes into play. Because if the tanking doesn't come into play, then you're not going to end up you're not going to be able to have a player who is not only comfortable with doing the pull, but comfortable with playing with the group as a casual tank. And that's the other side of it too. We're going to end up getting people more and more that want to just jump in and do keys and have fun. But, you know, then if like you're a new tank, I can't even imagine how terrifying it is to be a new tank and you join a key with a group of 4 random strangers, and you know, you do a pull one time and you're playing with a really good healer and the whole run feels great. DPS are kicking, healers healing, and everyone feels great. And then you go to another key and the healer's just off and the DPS are off, and all of a sudden like people are dying. You're like, am I bad here? I just did this exact same pull and everything went fine, and now suddenly everything's different and they're yelling at me because they say it's my fault when I just did this well.
And they're being toxic as fuck sometimes.
Oh yeah,
it's
so
like
toxic. One wipe and like, oh, the key's over. Yeah, might as well just kill ourselves. Everything's done. Like, whoa, relax, man. Like chill out.
That first run that I did with ice and the freehold before the run with you, there's a rogue and a demon hunter paired together from Illidan, and the rogue literally by the end of the run kicked 2 things the whole run, the outlaw rogue, and then like we were up doing the, I pulled like at the end of the bridge by Harlan, I pulled the pack of 4 with the Ravager, and then the Ravager and the caster on the bridge, and I LOS'd them. They came back, and one of the casters is back there just like casting a storm, and he missed the painful, and then after the pull I was like, yo, can you kick something please? Immediately got like an attitude, dude. He was like, well, you want to talk some more? And I was like, I haven't been talking the whole run, dude. I'm just asking you to kick some shit. And then of course he didn't kick anything for like the rest of the key, and I was like, dude, I didn't say anything after, but I was just like, dude, you're a clown, man. Like
people don't want to get pointed out on shit. Like I had like a hunter that I run with, and he's my hunter. We finished a run of Wakerest, and I linked him stun meters, and he had like 1 intimidation. I'm like, the only thing you can do better, dude, is use intimidation more. And he immediately got like, why are you fucking linking the meters? Just because I don't use stuns on cooldown. I'm like, relax, man. I'm just saying you can use the stuns. Like, there's a lot of mobs in there that don't need to be cast, that don't have cast, that you can just stun randomly. It's like, well, I should just stun on cooldown then, just to pad the stun meter because you're looking at me like that. I'm like,
you're smart about it, dude.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not calling you out. I'm saying this is an option that you can do with your class to play slightly better. I'm always looking to play better, and I'm trying to help you. He's like, you're making me. He's like, oh no, you're making me feel like an idiot because you're saying I don't interrupt enough and I don't kick it. I'm like, well, where did this? Like, relax, dude. Relax. And so like some of that stuff, like people just take it wrong, or and like I said, I'm hard on myself on a lot of things. I've screwed over 19 keys by just someone was like, yo, go tag these mobs, go do this. And after he was saying all that kind of stuff, then it ended up being a situation where, okay, I mean, if you say so, then we'll do this. I did it, and I listened, and then jacked it all up because I pulled mob, and I wasn't supposed to pull as much. I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. He told me to do this, and I did this, and that's not really what I was supposed to be doing. So now tons of people are in trouble and all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. I was like, this really sucks. And then so it's a bunch of other stuff, but everyone makes mistakes. Everyone is a human being. Like
so weeks and weeks ago, before I was consistently doing like 15s and all that, I was doing a 16 underrot. Or no, it was a 14 underrot, and it was fortified, and had a shaman healer that was actually like not bad. He was really cool, dude. And he was drinking, and I didn't see. I was like too excited to like get the key done on time, and not only was he drinking, but then I LOS'd him on the stairs, like at a weird part there after a spore collar, and it cucked the whole key. And then we did a few more runs together, and then we were doing like an Atal'Dazar, like something fucking easy, and he was like arguing with me like halfway through the run about like something. No, it was a King's Rest, dude. And I was like, alright, so everybody on the right side of the room, I'm gonna Typhoon Zool over, and if any runes are on the left side of the room, just ignore them. And because it's what, like a 15-20 yard range or something on that. And not only does he just straight go to the left side of the room, but then is telling the DPS not to stand on the rune that's literally like 10 yards from me, and we died. And then I was like, dude, why don't you just like roll with the plan? Like, and he got like seriously pissed at me, and then left the key that we were about to do like on time anyway, and then leaves the key. And I was like, dude, like, are you that, like, do you have that much pride that like make your own tank if you want to be like that, dude? Like, what are you doing? Like,
yep. That's the community now, and it's not always like that, but it definitely is super noticeable that exists in that regard.
It's just so weird, dude. Like,
oh, I agree. I 100% agree.
Super weird. But I'm gonna throw this up on YouTube if you don't mind. A lot of people are really enjoying this chat.
No, it's totally fine. I mean, like I said, as like the community, I feel like needs an entity to help teach it. And I think that's why people like watching streamers and stuff like that, because they see how to be better, because there's no gauge for anything to tell you, how can I improve my character, or how can I play a dungeon better when it's not presented to you in a healthy regard. And so, that is definitely something where I don't mind I talk a lot, and I kind of take over keys at times. But it's definitely something where, you know, I think if done well, it's not even too much of an issue that, you know, some of this stuff kind of goes on to kind of like discuss. I don't know.
No,
Yeah, I
I
have no
mean,
problem.
yeah.